matinding kalaban ng COVID.
Ayokong
Magandang tanghali, Pilipinas, no? Narito po tayo sa Dumaguete, Negros Oriental para samahan mamaya si Presidente Rodrigo Roa Duterte ang Department of Transportation sa inauguration ceremonies ng dalawang katatapos lang na transport infrastructure projects. Ito ang newly rehabilitated and expanded Dumaguete Sibulan Airport at upgraded Port of Dumaguete. Dahil sa improvements sa paliparan ng Dumaguete, o pwede nang mag-accommodate ng mas malaking eroplano ang Dumaguete, no? Tataas rin po ang terminal capacity ng airport na mula mahigit 300 or 330 na pasahero ay magiging mahigit 400 or 450 passengers.
ito na sa PTV.
Samantala, sa pag-upgrade ng Port of Dumaguete ay kaya na nitong mag-accommodate ng 500 passengers, no? Kahit may pandemya, tuloy-tuloy po ang ating build. Congratulations sa masipag na kalihim, Secretary Arto Gade, sa CAAP at sa PPA. Samantala, sa mga insidente ng pagpatay sa mga aktivista, ipinag-utos na rin po ng Department of Justice ang isang malalim na investigasyon sa mga ito. Mismo ang Pangulo ang nagsabi na sa maraming okasyon na anuman paglabag sa operasyon ay ilalim ng ating batas. Pagdating po sa karapatang mabuhay, ang obligasyon po ng Estado ay mag-imbestiga at magparusa ng mga lumalabag sa karapatang pantao. At yan naman po ang pangako ng ating Department of Justice, mabilis ang investigasyon at kung kinakailangan pagsasampa ng kaso laban po sa lahat ng mga lumabag sa ating batas. Pero siyempre po, kinakailangan malaman ang katotohanan, so bigyan lang po natin ng pagkakataon na magkaroon ng isang patas na investigasyon ang Department of Justice. Tungkol naman po sa tinatawag nating COVID spike, patuloy na pinalalakas natin ang pagtugon laban sa coronavirus gamit ang Prevent, Detect, Isolate, Treat, Reintegrate or PDITR strategy kasama ang localized response ng mga local government units. Tignan natin ang ilan sa localized responses na ginawa ng mga critical at high-risk areas sa Metro Manila. Sa Malabon na critical risk, simula February 27, ibinalik ang curfew hours mula 10 p.m. hanggang 5 a.m. Sa San Juan na high-risk area rin, ibinalik ang curfew hours nitong Martes, 9 ng Marso, mula 10 hanggang 5 a.m. din po. Sa 24-hour curfew sa mga minors, mayroon din ginawang regular cleaning at disinfection kung saan isinasara ang palengke, grocery, supermarket at talipapa gaya ng ginagawa po sa Navotas na high risk. Ito ay isinagawa noong Lunes. Sa Makati na high-risk area rin, meron silang 8-8 campaign, no? Dinidisinfect ang mga bahay, workplaces at common areas tulad na escalators at elevators tuwing alas 8 ng umaga at alas 8 ng gabi. May mga lungsod din po na nag-utos ng localized lockdown, no? Sa Pasay na critical risk, nagdeklara ng maigting na community quarantine sa mga apektadong barangay. Ilan lang ang mga ito po sa ginawang hakbang ng lokal na mga pamahalaan sa pakipag-ugnayan sa national government para mabawasan nga po ang pagkalat ng COVID-19. Sa ibang bagay naman po, paalala po sa ating mga kababayan, mamayang alas 2 ng hapon po, araw na ito, sabay-sabay tayong mag-duck, cover and hold para sa ating nationwide simultaneous earthquake deal. Live po ito masusundan sa NDRRMC and Civil Defense PH sa Facebook at sa YouTube. Well, dito po nagtatapos ang ating presentasyon. Kasama po natin ngayon, walang iba kundi His Excellency Shambu Kumaran. Excellency, Secretary Galvez and a team of Filipinos are in India to negotiate the purchase of COVID-19 vaccines produced by the Serum Institute of India. No? Can you please tell us what vaccines we can look forward to, how much in quantity, and if you have any news about the mission ongoing right now? The floor is yours, Ambassador Kumaran.
Thank you so much, spokesperson Roque, for this opportunity to join you and the presidential press call. As you rightly said, Secretary Galvez is in India right now. The term sheet that was signed by the Philippines government in January with the Serum Institute of India for supply of the Novavax vaccine, which is a US-developed vaccine being manufactured in India. The discussions are essentially underway for 30 million doses, and I believe that the Philippine side is interested in a larger number, and that detail is being currently negotiated. So this visit of Secretary Galvez and his team, he has representatives of the FDA, the Ministry of Finance, I think the President's Office, etc., high-level delegation. They will, I believe, conclude the discussions, agree on the supply contract. And we are very hopeful that this vaccine can reach early in the third quarter or in the late second quarter of this year. So it will provide the backbone for the Philippines vaccination effort in the second half of 2021 this year. We're very, very happy with this development. The second source of Indian vaccines, as you know, India is the largest manufacturer of vaccines. We've been very keen to engage with the Philippines. Unfortunately, for the earlier version of the AstraZeneca, Serum Institute was not licensed to supply to Southeast Asia and the Philippines. That's why we couldn't take it up. But we've offered the other vaccine that we are using in India, which is an outstanding vaccine developed by Indian scientists. It's called Covaxin by Bharat Biotech. That emergency use authorization is with the FDA. And we are hoping that now that the interim phase 3 efficacy data has been shared, we'll have an early EUA and that we can pick up the commercial negotiations. I believe as soon as Secretary Galvez and his team are back, we should be able to commence that engagement. So that vaccine also, we'd like to see a larger number of doses. The advantage of Bharat is that we could potentially start supplies in late April or it's a very secure vaccine which uses an inactivated virus platform. In India itself, that vaccine, several millions of doses have been used. So we're looking forward to discussions on both these vaccines. I think Novavax is pretty much a done deal. We're hoping the Secretary Galvez will be able to announce that news as soon as possible.
So just to clarify, Ambassador, aside from Bharat, which is the local vaccine developed by India, we can also look forward to AstraZeneca and Novavax. Is that correct?
Well, Novavax, definitely. That's why Secretary Galvez is in India. Potentially, I believe that even AstraZeneca in the second half of the year, but those licensing arrangements, I'm not very confident as to where they are positioned. But that discussion is something that I'm told also Secretary Galvez will initiate. But Novavax, they're going to close the contract and possibly have a discussion on subsequent supplies of AstraZeneca as well from the Serum Institute. As you know, Serum Institute is the main manufacturer of the AstraZeneca vaccine, a licensed manufacturing in India.
So when we talk of a 30 million volume, Ambassador, it will be a combination of Bharat, AstraZeneca, or Novavax, or just 30 million for a specific kind of vaccine?
30 million is currently the negotiated amount for the government purchase of Novavax alone.
Excellent.
In addition, we are talking about several millions of doses of Bharat, which we could start supplies once we have the agreements, as I said, by late April, early May. And the third pipeline is potentially, which is still to be determined because there are licensing issues to be addressed, potentially AstraZeneca sourced from Serum Institute also. That's in addition to this, both Novavax and Bharat. The third vaccine supply from India that could potentially happen.
That's good news, Ambassador. So we can look forward to more than 30 million, actually. The 30 million is only for Novavax. Thank you. Please join us in case members of the Malacanang Press Corps will have questions. We also have now the head of the Cyber Crimes Division of the National Bureau of Investigation, Mr. Victor Lorenzo. Sir, are you in the house?
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Yes, sir. Bumagsak ata yung gov.ph, no? Ano ba ang balita dyan sa pagbagsak ng webpage ng gov.ph?
Sir, we are in close coordination right now with the ICT. There was indeed a denial of service attack. Nagkakaroon na sir ng proper attribution ang DICT, and we will be requesting them the necessary details that they have doon sa attack. So we could begin or we could officially begin yung investigation. We are confident sir that we can track down the hackers responsible for the attacks kasi may mga previous incidents na sir.
Okay, sir. I'm sure the Malacanang Press Corps will have many questions for you kasi maraming tanong sila tungkol dyan. Siyempre, di naman po ako expector tungkol dyan. No? Pero bago po tayo pumunta sa ating open forum, kasama rin po natin si Dr. Paulo Miguel A. Borja ng Asian Hospital. No? Sir, nagpaturok na kayo ng Sinovac. No? Bakit po Sinovac ang pinaturok ninyo at kamusta na po kayo ngayon?
Well, first of all, good afternoon, Secretary Harry, and to all the viewers from us here at the Asian Hospital and Medical Center. Now, as you asked po, no, yes, nagpaturok na po ako ng Sinovac. This was 5 days ago. I'm feeling fine, no side effects, no? Not even the localized swelling that we usually see, that minor side effect. Wala po yun sa akin, no? And actually with most of my colleagues as well. The reason why we selected Sinovac as our choice is because it is the first available COVID vaccine that we received here in our hospital. And as all of us experts say, the best vaccine is the one in your arm. So the first one that is made available, you take advantage of that to protect yourself, to protect your patients, your family, and everyone else.
Excellent po. Ano naman po ang advice nyo dun sa mga health professionals na nag-aantay pa po ng ibang mga brands no, sa panahon na parang dumadami ang kaso ng COVID-19 po?
Well, yes po, no. Our advice would be, it's really about strengthening the vaccination program for COVID itself. No? We're not really specifying any particular brands. We encourage all healthcare workers and eventually the general public po to get vaccinated. All vaccines have been proven to be relatively safe and backed up by clinical trials, proven to be protective against severe COVID. So definitely po, this will protect you against severe COVID and hospitalizations, regardless of the brand.
Thank you very much, Dr. Borja. Please stay also in case Malacanang Press Corps will have questions for you. Okay, pumunta na po tayo sa ating open forum. Yusek Roque, sa mga paunang tanong please.
Yes, good afternoon, Secretary Roque and sa ating pong mga guests. Question from Lanesa Panti of GMA News. Is there a need for HTAC approval for COVID-19 vaccine that will be purchased by the government? Why and why not?
Well, recommendatory po yan. Yan po ay sang-ayon po sa lengguwahe ng batas. Pero sa patakaran po ngayon, nagbibigay naman po ng recommendation ang HTAC dahil kung susundin mo naman talaga literally nakasulat sa batas, kinakailangan aprobado ang stage 4 clinical trial. Pero sa panahon nga po ng pandemic at panahon ng emergency, wala pa po talaga nakakaabot na stage 4. Since nagbigay po sila ng positive recommendation sa paggamit sa Sinovac, inaasahan din po natin na basta merong EUA ang bakuna, magbibigay din sila ng positive recommendation. So although it is recommendatory, we welcome the positive recommendations of HTAC.
Her second question, will the Palace remove General Parlade as NTF-ELCAC spokesperson as recommended by the Senate due to constitutional provision banning an active military officer from occupying a civilian post?
Hinahayaan na po nating desisyon na yan kay Secretary Lorenzana ng Department of National Defense.
Her third question, the delegation of European Union in the Philippines said the Philippines has made a commitment to protect human rights workers and enable their work. How do you reconcile such commitment with the deaths of 9 activists during police operations last Sunday?
Gaya na aking sinabi po, obligasyon nating Estado kapag mayroong mga napatay ay imbestigahan at litisin at parusahan ng mga pumapatay. So I ask the European Union, please give the Philippines a chance to discharge its obligation to investigate, punish, and prosecute those who may have breached our domestic laws. We are undertaking and discharging the state obligation to investigate, prosecute, and punish.
Still from Lanesa, given constant criticisms on police operations, has President Duterte ordered the full implementation of the use of body cam during police operations? If so, when was this order given and how has such decision impacted police operations?
Narariyan na po mga body cams, nagtitraining na po tayo at inaasahan po natin magagamit na po ang mga body cams na yan sa buwan ng Abril nang maiwasan na po yung pagduda ng taong bayan kung ano talaga ang mga pangyayari pag meron pong napatay. Kasi yung body cam po ay physical evidence at hindi po magsisinungaling ang physical evidence.
Opo. Thank you, Secretary. Ang susunod po magtatanong, si Mela Les Moras ng PTV.
Go ahead, Mela.
Hi, good afternoon, Secretary Roque. And my first question, Secretary Roque, March 11, 2020 or saktong isang taon mula ngayon nang idineklara ng World Health Organization ang global pandemic. May I ask, nasa na po kaya ngayon ang Pilipinas? Tayo po ba ay kontrolado po ba natin sitwasyon? Are we winning or are we losing? How would you describe the standing of the Philippines in this fight against COVID-19 pandemic, especially nga din po sa Western Pacific region?
Well, nasabi ko nga po, we are managing COVID-19 very well. Given yung ating limited budget for health, napatupad po natin ang isang ECQ na naging dahilan para paghandaan natin yung mga magkakasakit na malala at seryoso. No? So we have expanded our healthcare capacity and we are now able to take care of those who may fall ill seriously. No? Sa ngayon po, hindi pa naman po tayo nasa delikadong healthcare utilization rate. 60 to 65% pa po ang ating ICU capacity at pati po yung ating mga ICU wards at saka mga isolation wards. At sa buong daigdig po, pan-30 pa rin po tayo pagdating sa total cases, pero mas mababa po tayo pagdating sa mga active cases. Kung di po ako nagkakamali, nasa 40-41 po. No? At pagdating po yung cases per million, talaga mababa po tayo. No? Parang 137 yung huling inanunsyo ko. No? At sa case fatality po, mababa rin naman po. No? Nasa 2.09, no? Bumaba ng bahagya. So sa akin po, I reiterate, we have been managing the COVID-19 very well. Ang importante po, nababawasan natin yung mga namamatay at handa po tayong gamutin ang mga magkakasakit na malala. At patuloy pa rin po ang ating pakiusap ng Presidente na habang nagbabakuna na tayo ng mga frontliners, magmask, iwas, hugas pa rin tayo at bakuna para dun sa po pwede na magpabakuna.
Opo. And my second question, Secretary Roque, moving forward, ano pa kaya po yung kulang at ano po yung dapat natin gawin? I understand may IATF meeting po today. May mga bago po ba tayong madidiscuss para nga makontrol din yung situation, lalo na yung naitatalang COVID-19 spikes?
Well, sa akin po importante yung tracing, no? Talagang yung tracing, naguguluhan na po ako, nahehelo na ako, no? Lalong-lalo na dito sa Stay Safe app. Hindi ko maintindihan kung bakit hindi pa natin ginagamit ito at matagal na pong na-launch namin yan. No? Naalala ko po, nandun po ako sa launch. No? So napaka-importante po nung tracing kasi yung tracing will enable us to isolate, no, the close contacts para maiwasan nga yung pagkalat. So I would say that an area for tremendous improvement will be the tracing, the use of the tracing app, at saka yung pagtaas ng mga numero na natitrace, dapat masunod po yung sinasabi ni Mayor Magalong na dapat mga at least 32 for every positive case po. Okay. Next question.
Yes, Secretary, tanong mula kay Evelyn Quiroz ng Filipino Mirror. You were quoted to have said that the country does not need to go into full-scale lockdown even amid the surge of COVID-19 cases, as this could be addressed in other ways. What exactly are the other ways that you have in mind?
Ito po yung tinatawag nating localized lockdowns. No? Hindi naman po automatic na kada barangay ila-lockdown. Pwede naman po isang building, isang bahay, isang kalye, isang compound. So sa akin po, ganun din po ang magiging sumatotal kung talagang mainting nating ipapatupad ang mga localized lockdown. At syempre po, patuloy pa rin yung ating pakiusap na pagsunod sa mga minimum health standards. Dahil yan lang po talaga napatunayan na nating mga pamamaraan para mapahina po ang kalat ng COVID-19 habang nag-aantay pa tayo ng bakuna.
Our second question po already answered by the Ambassador. Ang next magtatanong po ay si Tricia Terada ng CNN Philippines.
Go ahead,
Good
Trish.
afternoon, spokes, and to our guests. Sir, first, two questions for you, then I'll go to maybe to Ambassador. Sir, una lang po, no? Sir, Vice President Lenny Scamp says the President is spending more time attacking her than addressing the problems when in fact kulelat daw po tayo pagdating sa bakuna. Would you want to respond to this?
Well, hindi namin siya pinag-aaksaya ng panahon. No? Tuloy pong aming mga pagtatrabaho, samantalang si VP Lenny po ay namumulitika at nangangampanya na para maging presidente sa pamamagitan po ng kanyang walang tigil na birada sa administrasyon. Kinakailangan lang po sumagot, pero this has not deflected us from our mission to serve the nation at the time of pandemic. Nakatutok po kami sa trabaho at ang politika po is at the very far end of the back end of the mind of the President. Trabaho lang po kami. Patuloy ang paninilbihan.
Sir, yung latest World Health Organization data shows that Philippines has the highest number of COVID-19 deaths in the Western Pacific region and highest new number of cases in the Western Pacific region din po. How are we going to reconcile this, sir, with the government's performance and assessment na naging maayos po yung pag-manage natin ng COVID-19?
Trish, yung nangyayari kasi sa past 4 days should not erase what we have done since the outbreak of the pandemic. Totoo po, may pagtaas sa mga 4 na nakalipas na araw, pero marami na pong hakbang ginagawa. Inisa-isa ko po yan doon sa ating press briefing. No? Nagpapainting ng mga localized lockdown, naglilinis ng husto, yung 8-8 sa Makati, at saka yung mga paglilinis ng mga public places kung saan marami talaga mga tao na kinakailangan puntaan, no? Gaya ng mga supermarket at mga groceries. So, ganyan po talaga ang anyo ng COVID-19. Tataas po yan kapag nagkaunti lang tayo ng pabaya ng ating minimum health standards. No? So patuloy na panawagan natin, mask, hugas, iwas at bakuna.
Spokes, maybe you can answer this, or si Ambassador po can answer this. After the deals of Secretary Galvez, or after his trip in India, how many vaccines can more or less we expect apart from the 30 million from Novavax? And maybe the Ambassador can also share with us the effect of the vaccines. Kasi I understand, sir, millions have already been vaccinated in India. We're interested to know how this has been reflected in terms of the number of cases. Has it lowered already?
Yes, Your Excellency, would you care to answer the questions?
Sure. Thank you, Secretary Roque. I believe that the volumes that we're discussing with Novavax itself is 30 plus. So I'm not sure exactly how much more it can be, but is anything upward of 8 million doses, which could over a year and a half go up to 20 million doses. As you know, this vaccination process is going to take some time and it's going to be spread out over a certain period. In addition, of course, there's the possibility, as Secretary Roque was also mentioning, that Serum could potentially, in the latter half of this year or later, supply its AstraZeneca vaccines, but that's very much an ongoing discussion at the moment. So that's in terms of the volumes. In terms of the impact of vaccination on the COVID-19 cases, obviously it is, in India, we started vaccinations on the 16th of January. For about a month and a half, we focused on the healthcare workers and the frontliners. And obviously that's in terms of building up the healthcare capacity to deal with the continuation of cases. So I don't think anybody is expecting an immediate and dramatic decline. It basically is a process. We have a population of 1.3 billion. We are looking at vaccinating about 300 million by August. It's an ambitious target. We are on the way. And I believe that a certain volume of cases will continue to exist. And we need to find a way to manage it, like it's being done very well in the Philippines with all the preventive measures, the standard practices to have distancing, etc., and to kind of be able to have the healthcare capacity to respond to any increase in the cases. So the vaccination has also helped to improve public morale and to have people become more and more confident. It could help in the successful efforts to restart India's economy. We're very happy to know that India is going to be the fastest growing economy in 2021. The IMF estimates about 11.5%. I believe the growth prognosis for the Philippines is also very good. So as vaccination rolls out, I think the economic confidence will come in, societies will open up, people will start to travel and do business. So it's a process, an important first step in the process. and we're looking forward to taking that to its logical conclusion.
Thank you
Yes.
so much, Ambassador Kumaran. Sir,
Thank
just
you.
one more question. My last question for Chief Victor Lorenzo po.
Go ahead, please.
Hi, Chief Vic. How are you? Good afternoon.
Hi, Trish.
Yes,
Afternoon.
sir. Sir, because clarification lang, sir, about this, about the previous statement. You mentioned, sir, that there was a denial of service attack. Do we acknowledge, sir, that there is really a group behind this? Because there's a group, Cyber PH Human Rights, claiming that they're behind this, and they're warning that they will be launching more attacks in the coming days. Are we prepared for this, or how are we going to make sure, sir, that, for example, there are specific government sites that hold information, may mga data po silang hawak ng mga iba-ibang ng mga individuals, no? So how are we going to protect the data and other government sites from these attacks?
Trisha, the DICT is doing the proper attribution right now. And if you will remember, Trish, in 2012, there were massive attacks on government websites. And we addressed this by arresting a very notorious hacker at that time. Then nag-subside, di ba, yung attacks before sa government website. And this is going to be our approach also. May mga previous attacks in 2020 and we've been monitoring their activities. And we are confident na ma-address namin yung issue and we could identify those people behind these attacks.
Mm-hmm. Sir, soon enough before possibly ma-compromise yung mga data ng mga tao in specific websites?
There were claims na meron silang exfiltration of certain databases. But it's yet to be proven. They could easily claim that. Kaya lang minsan nagbabrag lang sila eh. One of the motives in hacking websites or defacing websites or doing these DDoS attacks is for bragging purposes. Or of course, plain and simple hacktivism. Pag sinabi nilang may mga na-compromise ng databases, we should not take that hook, line, and sinker. We have to validate that. Kasi madaming reports talaga eh, pero wala naman pala.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, spokes. Thank you, Ambassador.
Trish.
Thank you, Doc.
So just to answer your question, the Philippine government has initially targeted purchasing up to 40 million, but that could increase depending on ability of the other Western vaccines to actually deliver the vaccines to us. Okay, back to you, Sakraki.
Yes, Secretary, tanong mula kay Laila Salaveria of Inquirer, the lawyers and supporters of the activists slain on Sunday have accused the military daw po of blocking the release of the bodies of the activists despite submission of proper documents and payment of fees. Their lawyers are concerned that this is being done to prevent a forensic investigation of the bodies.
I'll look into this po, no? I will communicate with the authorities, pero as a lawyer with experience on investigation and prosecuting killings, importante po talaga na masubject to autopsy, no? Because physical evidence will not lie. Yung mga tama ng mga bala, depende yun sa trajectory, will indicate if there was in fact abuse of force that would prove murder. So importante po talaga na matuloy yung autopsy sa mga labi ng mga naging biktima. So I look into it. I will call no less than Chief Sinas after this press briefing. And maybe in a subsequent press briefing, I can tell you what Chief Sinas will tell me.
Pero how does Malacanang view this latest move of the armed forces? Is this a cause for concern?
Okay, so I stand corrected. No, I have to call General Sobihana pala. No? Well, I do not know the facts po. And you know naman in law, there is always a presumption of regularity. Siguro po, kaya nga po na aantala yung pag-release is there's a need to subject them to autopsy. Kasi SOP po yan, no? Kapag meron talagang krimen na nangyari, dapat talaga i-subject to autopsy. At hindi naman po mga pribadong doktora mga nag-autopsy dyan. It has to be accredited government physicians, no? Such as the PNP lab or the NBI. So let me look into it. I will call po General Sobihano after this broadcast.
Okay. Will this not support allegations that the state is harassing activists?
I don't know if there's any harassment po. What is happening is we are investigating and the autopsy is part of the investigation so that we could prosecute and punish the perpetrators if there are any.
Okay. Ang susunod magtatanong, Secretary, si Melo Acuña ng Asia Pacific Daily.
Go ahead, Melo, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Secretary. I just have one question for you today. My question is, you recall the violent incident in 2009 in Maguindanao province. Immediately after that incident, the police elements in the area were all relieved. Do you think it is high time for the government to relieve the police in Samar and in areas where the killings took place last Sunday?
I cannot compare it with the Maguindanao massacre, no? Because ang nangyari po sa Maguindanao massacre, we had about 70 policemen charged as co-accused with some local officials. So ganun pong kagrabe yung involvement ng kapulisan sa Maguindanao. And we're talking of, yes, 9, but in separate occasions po, no? So they are in fact victims na limited to one in an area. So number one, the president does not make decisions of this nature. So hahayaan na po natin yan sa hierarchy ng pulisya. That's a decision of Chief Sinas, o kung hindi po si Chief Sinas, then yung kanilang mga regional commanders.
Yeah, thank you, Secretary. I have two questions for the good ambassador from India.
Go ahead, please.
Your Excellency, good afternoon and greetings to you. I'm just as interested as anybody else. How much does the Indian government spend for research and development compared to its gross domestic product?
Well, thank you. Good to meet you too. Good afternoon. There's the central government science and technology budget, which provides for all the central institutions. And then there's a lot of research that's currently happening on the part of private companies. Covaxin, for instance, was a joint effort by the Indian Council of Medical Research, which is our top body that coordinates all the medical research institutions in India, and the National Institute of Virology, and the private company. So our estimate is that this number is currently not sufficiently high enough. It could be around 1% of GDP at best. So possibly lower. So there's a lot of national attention to try and increase that to a level which is commensurate. But as I said, it's difficult to estimate it comprehensively because a lot of the research and development is now shifting to the corporate sector.
I see. But what incentives does your government provide to people who are deep into research and are successful?
There is a large amount of budgetary support, as I said, released through the Department of Science and Technology, the Ministry of Science and Technology. In addition, the Department of Space, the Department of Atomic Energy, Department of Biotechnology, Department of Ocean Development, all of them have research budgets. The Defense Research and Development Organization has a very significant budget too, which runs into several, millions of dollars each year, hundreds of millions of dollars each year. So the idea is that we need to provide both support for organized R&D, and also we have a national program initiated by the Prime Minister called Startup India, where we encourage young startups and innovative minds to start contributing to the national research effort. So it is really a national effort spread across various stakeholders.
Thank you, Ambassador, and thank you, Melo. Can we go back now to you, Roque, please?
Yes, thank you, Secretary. A question from Maricel Halili of TV5. Mayor Belmonte thinks that quarantine classification is not very useful at this time. Nakakalito na raw ang ibig sabihin nito dahil hindi ipinatutupad yung original protocols under quarantine classifications. Do you think it is still necessary to maintain the quarantine classifications? Will it be more effective if the government will just be clear on the protocols instead of the quarantine classification?
Well, actually, I think the statement of Mayor Joy Belmonte is very sound. But from the point of view of the IATF, we need to tell the people that, number one, that the pandemic is still ongoing, that there is still a crisis, and that there is still need of a quarantine, no? Because this is a pandemic. There's a psychological benefit to it that people will be reminded that they still have to be careful because a pandemic is ongoing. So by and large, while we appreciate the suggestion of Mayor Joy Belmonte, perhaps what we will do in the IATF is to simplify the do's and don'ts for the different regimes as we further reopen the economy. Naintindihan ko po yun kasi yung mga GCQ na bago na po, lalong-lalo na sa Metro Manila, Also by way of accommodating the mayors na gusto pa rin nilang GCQ, although they stand committed to reopen the economy. So we'll work on that po, and we'll find a middle ground somewhere.
Second question po niya, some senators call for the president to place the country under state of emergency due to African swine fever. Will the president consider this? Is it necessary at this point to declare a state of emergency?
Well, the President always considers naman po mga suggestions na ating policy makers. No? Pero sa ngayon po, ang solusyon nga is yung repopulation at naglaan naman po tayo ng sapat na halaga dyan. At bukod pa sa repopulation, yung pagpasok po ng bakuna at syempre yung pag-aangkat po hindi ng baboy sa iba't ibang parte ng Pilipinas at soon po sa iba't ibang parte ng daigdig. So, but point well taken. We welcome the suggestion. It will be considered, but it has not been decided upon by the President.
Okay. Yung third question po niya, nasagot niya na Secretary about General Parlade ng spokesperson NTF-ELCAC. Ang susunod na magtatanong Secretary si Joseph Morong ng GMA News.
Go ahead, Joseph.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to the guest. Sir, sa'yo muna, couple of questions for other reporters. No? Kay Maris, for Maris, sabi nung anak nung mayor sa Calbayog na they see this na politically motivated yung pagpatay sa kanyang tatay because there have been efforts in the past prior to the, we can call it ambush, na i-link sila sa drug list. Your comment, please?
I don't have a comment, no? Investigation is ongoing at kung maalala mo, Joseph, the investigation was already transferred to the NBI because of the possible involvement of men in uniform. No? So, like the rest of the nation, inaantay po natin resulta ng investigation ng NBI. At ang aking sinasabi lang, dapat talaga malitis at naparusahan ito dahil kinakailangan magsilbing halimbawa na habang papalapit ang eleksyon ay hindi dapat po pumapatay dahil pagpatay po, yan po ay kalaban at kabaliktaran ng demokrasya. Kinakailangan mapayapang pamimili po na ating mga leaders.
Okay, sir. Another topic, sir, yung PDP, at least some sectors of the PDP, some members of the PDP are pushing for the president to run as vice president to Senator Bongo. Your comment?
I have no information on that. I will consult the president about this possibility. Bagamat I've heard the president say at one point, na siyempre, naging presidente na siya, bakit siya magwa-vice president? Pero I don't know if there's been any change. I will consult with him, and one of the reasons why I'm here in Dumaguete.
Between Sara and SBG, who do you think the president would prefer or endorse?
I'd rather not comment on these matters habang nakatutok tayo sa pandemya.
Alright, sir, just a couple of questions on the COVID issue. Sir, kahapon kausap namin yung Okta Research, and they're saying that kung hindi kaya ng stricter community quarantine like MECQ or ECQ, at least tighten yung GCQ. Some of the proposals that they said was, number one, maybe we can go back to 30% capacity for mass gatherings, reduce capacity in malls and restaurants, tapos even impose a liquor ban. What do you think of those proposals? Are those doable? Are we doing it?
Alam niyo po sa IATF, it's an entire government approach, a whole nation approach. So hindi po tayo magkukulang ng brain power in addressing this issue. We welcome the suggestion of Okta, but we are cognizant of what is happening, and in the next meeting, I'm sure there will be recommendations to be approved by the IATF, including those that they have recommended. Pero hindi naman kasi ibig sabihin na because they recommended sila lang nag-isip. Continuously at work po ang iba't ibang ahensya ng gobyerno. Kaya nga po whole of government approach yan, hindi lang DOH, nandyan po ang DOST, nandyan po ang mga economic planners, dahil hindi lang naman ito, strictly speaking, something that should just be viewed from the point of view of health. Meron the economic aspect yan, meron social aspect. So lahat po yan tinitignan at binabalanse. Kaya nga po mahirap yung trabaho na IATF.
But have we reached a point, given the rising COVID cases, and si Dr. Wong said yesterday na probably UK variant yung nagda-drive niyan, have we reached a point that we do have to change what is prevailing now in terms of quarantine protocols?
Well, we definitely have to convince our people to be more strict in following yung minimum health standards kasi Yan naman ang dahilan kaya tumataas ang mga bilang, no? Outside of the new variants. Pero ang sinasabi ko ba, kahit ano pang variant yan, pareho din ang panlabang natin dyan, mask, hugas, iwas at bakuna. No? Pero sa ngayon po, I don't think there's any need to panic because that's the nature of viruses. They tend to mutate at they will really infect a lot more. No? So tayo, alam natin kung paano labanan niya, mas painting lang at syempre, no, titignan natin kung kakayanin nating bigyan ng tulong yung mga magkakasakit ng matindi at so far po we do not have any critical healthcare utilization rate. We are in fact wala pa po sa moderate, no? So mabibigyan po natin ng medical attention ng mga magkakasakit na seryoso.
Well, can I go to a little bit to Dr. Borja to get the hospital perspective, sir?
Yes, Dr. Borja. Dr. Borja, supposedly hospital perspective. Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sir, can you give us the status? Hold on. Can you give the status of occupancy? I mean, number of cases in COVID in your hospital, and from a public health management minus the economy, what do you think should the government do? Have we reached a point that we do have to tighten certain protocols?
Well, from a private hospital perspective, specifically here in Asian Hospital, yes, there's definitely a number of cases. Compared to the recent weeks, we've seen an increase. But as Secretary Harry has mentioned, for me, it is not a source of concern for now. Our teams have been deployed and our units have been upgraded as compared to last year. So definitely, we are definitely more equipped in handling these situations. Asian Hospital has been deploying a lot of programs to make our hospital tagged safe. So definitely, we can control this. And for me, there is no need for any intervention from the government for now.
So we're fine with the present protocols. I mean, you think that's working?
This is actually expected for now, and as Secretary Harry has...
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you, Director.
Yeah, perhaps Joseph should visit Asian Hospital now to have a better perspective. I hope Dr. Borja,
Work from home, sir.
You can entertain Joseph Morong when he visits Asian Hospital.
We'll gladly do so, sir.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Question, please.
Yes, Secretary from John Sala ng ABS-CBN, nakuhanan daw po ng video kamakailan ang isang pulis na nagtanim ng ebidensyang baril sa tabi ng isang napatay na drug suspect. Allegations of tanim ebidensya, tanim droga have surfaced as far back as 2017. Why does this keep happening? What were the steps done to stop this? What does this say about the drug war?
Well, kinakailangan po imbestigahan yan. No? At syempre, kung merong video, napakahirap naman magsinungaling ng video. Kung yung video po yan ay may authenticate, masisibak po yung pulis na yan at malilitis din. No? Dahil yung pagpa-plant po ng ebidensya ay isang krimen din. No? So, hayaan po natin umusad ang proseso at mabuti na lang nga po, merong video. Dahil ang video nga po ay hindi magsisinungaling.
Okay. Tanong mula kay Samet Denilla ng Business Mirror, kung na-sign na daw po kaya ni President Rodrigo Duterte yung Corporate Recovery and Tax Incentives for Enterprises o CREATE Bill?
Pirmado na po yan. Na-announce na po natin yan. Pirmado po ang CREATE.
Okay. A question from Rose Novenario of Hataw. May balak po ba ang palasyo na maglaan ng pondo para sa research ng locally produced COVID-19 vaccine upang hindi na umasa ang Pilipinas sa ibang bansa?
Rose, in fact, magtatayo na tayo ng Institute of Vaccinology. No? Isa po yan sa mga initiatives ni Secretary de la Peña dyan po sa DOST. Tama po kayo. Dumating na yung punto na ang Pilipinas ay nag-iisip na rin na magkaroon ng kakayahan na mag-develop ng sariling bakuna. Bagamat, aktibo tayo, Rose, doon sa mga clinical trial natin para sa Lagundi, sa Tawa-Tawa, at saka yung, sa virgin coconut oil pala, at saka sa Tawa-Tawa, at saka doon sa blood plasma, no? Na undergoing clinical trials also. So, nakikicontribute naman tayo doon sa worldwide effort to come up with treatment to COVID-19.
Opo, tanong naman mula kay Vance Fernandez, with the recent incident daw po involving the PMP as well as local police district, would La Paz be willing to push for a mid-pandemic internal cleansing of the country's police forces? Incidents such as officers gunning down personnel of the AFP, the misencounter with the PDEA, and the shootout that led to the death of Mayor Aquino. Will the President move towards a restaffing of the PMP? If potentially yes, would that restaffing involve an appointment of a new chief, or will it focus on clearing out the lower ranks of the PMP?
Well, ang masasabi ko lang po dyan, ang presidente ko, nagsasabi na kung merong banta ang buhay ang isang alagad ng batas, syempre po pwede siyang gumamit ng dahas. Pero kinakailangan merong banta sa buhay mismo ng alagad ng batas, at kung wala po yan, posible maging krimen ng murder. Yan nga po yung sinasabi na sa larangan ng international human rights law, hindi naman bawal sa parte ng mga alagad na batas na gumamit ng puwersa basta merong necessity at merong proportionality. So kung sila po ay namarel at nakapatay na wala pong necessity at walang proportionality, malilitis po sila para sa krimen ng murder. At ilang beses na po sinabi ng presidente yan. Sagot po kayo, kapulisan, kasundaluhan, kung talagang tama ang ginawa ninyo na gumamit kayo ng puwersa dahil merong banta sa buhay ninyo, pero kung wala, parurusahan kayo. Yan po ang mensahe ng presidente bilang isang abogado at bilang isang dating piskal.
Secretary, may follow-up lang po si Dreo Calonso ng Bloomberg, maging si Pia Rañada ng Rappler. Paki-clarify po kung ang sign ba ay yung create bill. Kasi ang na-announce daw po earlier yung FIST bill.
Let me verify that, no? But I think in a past briefing, let me verify that. Let me verify that, and I will post it in Heads Up this afternoon.
Opo. Secretary, tanong mula kay Tina Mendez ng Philippine Star. How is the IATF and Malacanang addressing what some describe as COVID-19 protocols fatigue or burnout? Is there a need to shift strategy or communications campaign?
Pag-uusapan po yan mamaya sa IATF.
Tanong naman po ni Jeneline Kabiling ng Manila Bulletin, may we get an update on health situation of some government media personnel deployed to Dumaguete who reportedly tested positive for COVID-19? How many are infected? What assistance will be given to these government workers? Will the President push through with his visit to Dumaguete City today?
Wala po kong alam, pero kung napapansin niyo po, tayo po ay naka-zoom. Wala po akong cameraman ng PTV4, wala rin akong cameraman ng RTVM dahil parang kulang nga po sila dito sa Dumaguete. That's why we are purely on Zoom. Aalamin ko po because I left the airport in order to do this press briefing.
Okay, thank you, Secretary.
Maraming salamat. Meron pa bang magtatanong?
Secretary, sa part ko wala na po. I think Joseph Morong or kung sino po yung nasa Zoom, si Joseph Morong po nakikita ko.
Joseph, you have additional questions?
To think of an additional question. Sir, okay. Sir, yung sa IATF, sinabi kasi ni Sec Galvez before he flew to India, na as NTF, no, he's thinking of maybe bringing back yung mga police and mga military to maybe psychologically remind the people that we have to follow protocols. Is this one of the agenda of the meeting later in IATF? And mukhang ang attitude ng gobyerno, sir, status quo, but we have the rising numbers of COVID cases. Parang that doesn't seem to tackle the problem.
Let me clarify, no? Ang sinasabi natin, ayaw natin bumalik sa ECQ kasi napakadami nang nagugutom sa pag sinasara ang ekonomiya. Hindi natin sinasabi wala tayong ibang mga hakbang gagawin. Paintingin talaga na yung ating mga pulisiya para mapatupad ang minimum health standards. No, kung kinakailangan gumamit muli na mas marami pang pulis at sundalo para dito, gagawin po natin yan. Dahil ang isa talagang medyo maluwag ang pagsunod ng ating mga kababayan ay yung pagtipon-tipon, yung kawalan ng social distancing. Bagamat sa mga pag-aaral, lumalabas ang pagsuot naman ng mask ay walang problema po mga Pilipino. Talagang social distancing yung problema ng ating mga kababayan. So, kinakailangan talagang gamitin ang mga ahensya ng batas para rito.
Yeah, from a policy level, in terms of contact tracing, you touched on the subject kanina, and you've admitted there are some areas of improvement there, correct?
Well, sabi ko nga po, ako na mismo nahehelo kasi hindi ko maintindihan kung bakit itong Stay Safe Philippines ay hindi pa talagang tuluyan napapatupad, no? So alam ko meron ding programang ginawa ang DOTR. So whatever program is, kinakailangan talaga natin mag-automate dahil I will have to admit, ito yung pinakamahina natin sa response sa COVID-19 ngayon, yung ating tracing. Sabi mismo ni Mayor Magalong, hindi sapat yung sinasubject natin to contact tracing pagdating to sa mga nagkaroon ng close contact. No? Dapat talaga 30 plus. No? At malayo pa talaga yung mga numero na trace natin, lalong-lalo na dito sa Metro Manila. So it's really an area na dapat talagang tutukan.
So in other words, sir, we have an increasing number of COVID cases which is potentially being driven by UK variant, which is more transmissible, but we're not getting it. Hindi natin nahuhuli yung mga na-infect.
Hindi naman po, no? Basta ang ating solution dyan, paintingin natin yung prevention, yung ating isolation, yung ating treatment, at yung ating tracing. So habang dumadami ang numero, dapat pinapainting natin itong mga responses na ito.
Alright, sir. That's it from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Secretary Roque, may pahabol po si Vance Fernandez. Yung response daw po dun sa PNP internal cleansing.
Well, sa ngayon po, no, ang presidente nagsasabi na ang mga kapulisan malilitis kayo kapag kayo gumamit ng dahas na wala pong dahilan, kung walang threat sa inyong mga buhay, no. Pero hindi ko po alam kung ano talagang sinasabi ni Vance na internal cleansing, no. Antayin na po muna natin kung ano mga magiging desisyon ng liderato ng PNP kung kinakailangan na gawin nga yung cleansing na yan.
Okay, maraming salamat po, Secretary Roque.
Maraming salamat, Yusek Roque, and I'd like to thank His Excellency Ambassador Shambro Kumaran. Thank you, Dr. Borja, and maraming salamat sa ating mga kasama sa Malacanang Press Corps mula po dito sa Dumaguete, Negros Oriental. Sa ngalan po nating Presidente Rodrigo Roa Duterte, ito pong inyong spokesman Roque nagsasabi, nako mga kababayan, patuloy po tayong mag-ingat dahil ang nais ng Presidente, lahat tayo umabot sa bakuna. Mask, hugas, iwas, at bakuna. Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat.